Hello, my name is Connor. Welcome to 246 News. This is Connor. You're watching Connor on the air. Well, I'm back after a couple of days of being off air. I haven't been on air recently, as you may know, but we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up for you on 246 News, so definitely stay tuned. We had an interesting day and some interesting stuff happened over the last couple of weeks. We've seen from what is Dan Andrews' extra COVID powers to ICAC tapping into Gladys Berejiklian's phone call with Daryl Maguire. We've also seen cases pop up in Queensland, but no lockdowns. Dr. Young said, once again, maybe this is true, maybe it isn't, that there will not be any lockdowns anymore. Maybe some in rural and regional areas that haven't got high vaccination rates, if there's any outbreaks there. But for the most part, there will not be. Now, that's her word, not mine. But there you have it. So that's for Queensland. Good news there. Now, first of all, let's get into what was this ICAC hearing today. Now, like many of you, I was watching it, and it was something. It was something like. Well, it was definitely something. That's for sure. Every time Gladys Berejiklian was telling something, and then the prosecutor would always come back with would say. She would say, "I don't recall," a lot. Gladys was saying, I don't recall. And then she was asked a question. She said, no, that never happened. I never said that. Brings up a phone call, brings up an email. ICAC has a lot of power, that's for sure. So we've seen many subjects on this matter, which is the Treasurer told to change the budget. Berejiklian said she would sack a public servant, who is still working in the public service. And then Maguire told Berejiklian he had been sub-appointed. He also was asking for, there was that thing with the shooter's range, asking for money, the thing with the hospital, asking for money for that hospital. Now, Gladys gave other reasons for then why she was corrupt, but she did say a little bit about what could possibly be what a phone conversation may have been something to do, a subject of this. Now have a look. This was Gladys Berejiklian today in her ICAC hearing. Have a look at this.
As at the 12th of April 2018, you regarded Mr Maguire as part of your family, correct?
I had very strong feelings for him, yes.
Does the answer to my question yes?
No, I did not regard him as a member of my family. I had strong feelings for him.
So as at the 12th of April 2018, you did not regard Mr Maguire as part of your family, is that what you're saying?
I would not have introduced him or regarded him as a member of my family.
Did you get my message? I went down to Treasury.
I couldn't understand it.
I went down to Treasury and said, now look, how's things coming along? How's my hospital? I said, am I getting my 170 million? It's not a line item. And he wouldn't sort of tell me. And then I said, well, what am I getting? And he said, you're getting some money for graffiti, and that's 100,000 to put another van on the fucking road. I said, what about Tumut Hospital? He said, not in this budget. So what about the new school? No. Right. I said, what about the base hospital? I said, no money I said, we're about to start building. I said, I'll have to get back to you.
Oh,
said,
okay.
I said, no money for Wagga. You'll have a fucking right on your hands. I said, your uncle will tear you to pieces. I'll handle him. And I said, well, you better not be joking. You better not be joking, because that's 2 years in a row we've had no money, and they're ready to go to tender in January. I said to Brad, before, I said, are we getting money or not? He said, no, I haven't seen it. I don't know. It's up to Treasury. I said, well, you better fucking make sure Wagga's got money, otherwise there's going to be a riot on your hands.
I'll deal with
Let's
it.
do it right.
I'll fix it.
Solidarity these people, honest to Christ.
I'll fix it.
Well, you can imagine what would happen if there was no money for Wagga and we're ready to go to tender.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And Tumut, not $1, but mind you, we haven't finished the planning, but, you know, Tumut all. There's no money for it, and there's no money for the new school in Estella. I'm going to have a fucking terrible time at the election. Just a terrible time.
Well, I've already got you the Wagga Hospital.
But they
money.
should have done it.
I know. I
Why
just
did they?
talked to Dom.
Why
I
did
just spoke to Dom and I said, just put the 140 in the budget. He goes, no worries. That's what I asked him to. It's all fine.
it's meant to be 170.
Whatever it is, 170. I said, I think it's around 140. I said, just put it in. He's putting it in, whatever it is. Okay?
I mean, that would cause, we would lose Wagga. We would fucking will lose. We would lose. I tell you now, they would campaign like you wouldn't believe, and we'd have nothing to defend ourselves with a hole in the ground. I can't believe they didn't even do it. That idiot I spoke to, he's nephew.
Well,
What is wrong with these people?
To be honest, it's Brad's fault for not being on top of who needs what, okay?
Well, I said to Brad, I've been to them. They asked me for the list. He said, what's your
Can you
list?
please not get yourself worked up again, because all you do is shout at me sometimes, Hawkies.
Tumut bonfire, the Tumbarumba bonfire going. I've got all those goddamn issues happening. Goddamn rail trails the Greeks created. He's got this fucking bushfire happening in Tumbarumba, and they say, oh, there's no money for Tumut Hospital. Hello, guys. I can't believe they left Wagga Hospital off there. What is wrong with them?
I'll just fix that one. I can't fix everything else, but I've got that one on for you.
So she'll fix that one. She's getting mad at him there for shouting at her. And also we heard when Gladys Berejiklian said she would speak to that servant. She would sack a public servant who is still working in the public service today. Daryl Maguire said, I had, what's his name? Some senior. And then Gladys said, I can't stand that guy. His head will be gone soon. Darren says, not until he fixes my conservatorism. All right, good. Tell him to fix it. Then after he fixes, I'm sacking him. I think this was when Gladys was treasurer or premier. I think she was treasurer at that stage. But wow, really, just wow. Also, we're over that. What happened there now with Daryl Maguire? So there'll be another hearing on Monday, and we might not bring it to you live, but we will make sure to bring you any important information of anything that happens there. So please subscribe with all notifications on, and let's get into the next story, which is Daniel Andrews has been given extra pandemic powers, or could be given extra pandemic powers. Now, have you heard, this is what Dan Andrews had to say. This is from Sky News. This is what Dan Andrews had to say to the press conference when he was asked this question.
There's been a lot of discussion about this already, but have you reconsidered allowing freedoms for both the vaccinated and non-vaccinated when we get to those vaccination milestones at some stage?
How do you mean? Sorry?
In a similar way to New South Wales, allowing freedoms for both vaccinated and non-vaccinated at a stage when the state is at a level
Sure.
of
Yeah. Sorry.
that's
Yeah.
high. Have we reconsidered doing that at all?
I understand the question now. In terms of the vaccinated economy, to tell you the truth, I'm not 100% clear on what New South Wales' position is, and that might be my fault rather than theirs. I can recall Gladys making some announcements about maybe 5 or 6 weeks after the vaccinated economy started, you would fold it up and it wouldn't be there anymore. I don't know whether Dominic has done the same thing. I honestly don't know the answer to that. That doesn't make any sense to me in any event, and we won't be doing that here. Like, why would you just get the system going? Why would you have the thing up and running and then essentially pull down that, pull all that down, pull all the architecture that you built, all the infrastructure that you built, the culture that you've changed. Why would you change that 4 or 5 weeks later? We will not be doing that here. I'm not going to say to someone, oh, look, just wait us out, will you? Just wait 4 or 5 weeks and then you'll be able to go to the pub. No, if you make the judgment to not get vaccinated and you reckon you can wait out us or the publican or whoever you want to think you're waiting out, you won't wait out the virus, because the virus will be here for a long time. And your only protection against it is being vaccinated. This will be well into 2022, well and truly into 2022. Then we're going to get into booster issue, so it won't be your first and second dose. It'll be have you had your third? And then the other issue will be, well, who knows what variant's coming? Who knows? Like, we don't. So we've got every reason to be confident. We've got every reason to be optimistic and upbeat. The Victorians have done an amazing job, but that job includes us making some difficult decisions, and that's to keep people who are not vaccinated out of some of those venues that we've been talking about today.
How long do you foresee us
I can't put a date on it.
vaccination?
I cannot put a date on it, but I can tell you this: it will not be when we reach 90%. It will not be, anytime soon. That's going to function for a period of time, well into 2022. For instance, I'll give you an example. The Grand Prix is in April. I don't think there's going to be crowds at the Grand Prix made up of people who have not been double dosed. Just to give you a time frame. Doesn't mean it'll end the day after the Grand Prix, but that just gives you some sense. Please don't play that game of let's just wait them out and then we'll be able to do everything we want to do and have not got jabbed. No, that will not be the case here. And if you make that choice, it'll be a very long wait and you won't outwait this virus. If you're not vaccinated, you'll get it and you've got every chance of becoming very, very unwell.
Just on that, if Victoria takes that stance, it likely could be inconsistent with the other states with what New South Wales is planning. Are you concerned that Victoria may be viewed as in economic terms as a place that people could do business with because
No, I wouldn't think so.
we'll be in that position when the other states aren't?
No, I wouldn't think so. Not when 90+% of the community by that stage, probably 92, 93, 94% of the community over the age of 12, which is pretty much, well, most of the consumers across our state will have been double dose vaccinated and will be in the process of getting their third shot. And again, the third shot's a matter for the Commonwealth. I don't know who's going to get that and when, but the clock's ticking. We're going to have to start doing booster shots, particularly for our older Victorians who were the very first people to get the first shot. We'll have to do that quite soon. So I don't see that as a competitive disadvantage at all. In fact, quite the opposite. That will mark us out as a safe place to come and visit, a safe place to be part of. That's what such high vaccination levels mean.
So there you go. It's here to stay. And Victoria, for the unvaccinated, may not be going anywhere. The unvaccinated will certainly be restricted to very little freedoms in Victoria. Now, of course, this is what Daniel Andrews is now, and as for a long time, unvaccinated might not be able to come to Victoria. And Djokovic is quite mad at this, actually. He will not be attending the Australian Open because he will not be going to quarantine in the Australian Open. And with all this vaccine passports and, vaccine mandate, there has been a legal challenge of over 100 people. There's been protests. Now have a look at this clip that shows the strong support against the vaccine mandate. So there you have it. People are challenging this vaccine mandate, and it may just well be here to stay, as you heard from Dan Andrews. Maybe as long as he's staying, the vaccine mandate will stay. We're not completely sure yet. We're not completely sure, but maybe not this. It's not going to be the same as New South Wales, let me tell you. A lot of Victorians might be moving to New South Wales with Perrottet in charge. I mean, thank God for him. He is actually opening the place up. Here in Queensland, they have a plan to reopen now, but they are still building these quarantine camps. And some people believe that these quarantine camps are going to be used for unvaccinated people, which the Premier said herself. We don't have that clip right here, but I'd love to show that to you. Maybe it's not to, of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the unvaccinated people are going to be rounded up by, there's only 2 days left. She keeps saying there's only 2 days left. You need to be vaccinated. Time is almost up. You need to be vaccinated. Well, a lot of people have lost their jobs in healthcare. Over 2,000 people have lost their jobs to the vaccination mandate in healthcare. But it doesn't look like we're all going to be rounded up and put into these prison camps, but maybe a future hotel quarantine system will be in these camps, and hotel quarantine may remain for these unvaccinated people instead of the alternative, the cheaper alternative of home quarantine, the more effective alternative of home quarantine, or just no quarantine at all once the state has reached our 80% vaccination levels that we need for vaccinated people to do it. Maybe all we need is a simple PCR test. That's what I think. Anyway, so there you go. More than 100 people joining that legal fight in Victoria. But I also want to tell you some good news about Victoria, or I guess good news. What really is this? I mean, not everyone's free, but there are a few freedoms coming to Victoria. And those freedoms are, from tonight, there will be no restrictions on travel. So firstly, there'll be no restrictions on travel around the state. So you can travel from regional Victoria to Melbourne to regional Victoria. No restrictions on travel around the state. No masks will be required outside. People can return to work if they are fully vaccinated. Outdoor public gatherings of 30 people will be allowed. Gyms and retail can reopen with the subject density limits. Indoor and outdoor hospitality venue limits are they can increase their limits. Indoor entertainment venues can open up at 75% capacity, as many as 1,000 patrons. Outdoor venues can return to 5,000 patrons. Indoor sport can resume with a density cap, and all school students can go back into a classroom full time. That's some good news there. Students can get back to school. But there are going to be some proposed pandemic rules that this could happen. This is Dan Andrews proposing pandemic laws that allow the government to declare states of emergency, to declare a pandemic or a state of emergency. And that means that they can enforce restrictions for 3 months at a time, and that can be continued and continued. They can declare it for 3 months at a time, and it gives immense powers to the Premier and Chief Health Officers, and decisions can be made without the Chief Health Officer's directions, and the Chief Health Officer can make these directions. Have a look, take a look at this clip.
Now, before I hand to Minister Foley to talk in more detail about the pandemic-specific laws that we have introduced into the Parliament today, I just wanted to provide you with some background. We said that as the state of emergency and as legislative arrangements fell due, we made a commitment some time ago that we would introduce pandemic-specific laws, that we would have a set of measures that were not written with a hypothetical in mind, but were the product of learnings and the experiences that we've all been through, all of us, over these last 20 plus months. That's exactly the framework that we have introduced into the Parliament. This is modelled on the New Zealand law. There are elements of what happens in New South Wales and other states also, but we've gone beyond that in terms of accountability and transparency, the view of experts and the broadest view. Now, that shouldn't be taken as a criticism of anybody who's been involved in our pandemic response, particularly our public health team. Under the current law, their job is to be first and foremost concerned with public health. And that's what you want when you don't have a vaccine. Once you move to a vaccinated economy and a vaccinated community, and you've got the protections of those vaccines, when you're in this stage of this pandemic, you need to have a broader focus. And that's exactly what these new arrangements will underpin, a broader focus. They also set us up, having learnt many different things across the journey, for whatever that next pandemic might look like, whenever that might be into the future. It is appropriate that you do what you say. We said that there would be pandemic-specific laws. That's exactly what we've introduced into the Parliament. They are based on some other models in other parts of our country and the world, but they go further in many ways in terms of scrutiny, oversight, transparency. They are the right set of arrangements, and there's been widespread consultation with experts in many different fields to come up with this model, and we look forward to them passing the Parliament. We'll continue to talk with the crossbench as we always do, negotiating in good faith and having these arrangements in place well before those that are currently in place expire in a few weeks' time. Victorians have done an amazing job. All of us have been through so much, but together and by sticking together, we have achieved, well, we're going to be one of the most vaccinated communities anywhere in the world. And I thank every Victorian who's been vaccinated. That is so important. It's also important that we learn from the experience and that we have the best set of arrangements in place for this next phase, for this living with COVID phase, for the normalisation of this virus. That's what the rest of this year looks like. It's what Friday night at 6 o'clock looks like, the 24th of November, of course, Christmas and well into 2022. We're in a different phase, and we need specific laws, just as we promised, that will protect us and keep us safe. That was our commitment. That's what we have delivered.
So there you have it from Dan Andrews. He wants to propose new pandemic powers which allow the state government to declare a state of emergency and to declare, well, these pandemic rules, pandemic laws, chief health officers rules, border closures. Just any time they can do this, and they can do it for 3 months. Someone coughed, three months. There you go. There you have it. That's what Dan Andrews wants to propose. And you can understand why a lot of people just wouldn't like that. I don't like it. Let me know if you don't like it, or if you do like it. Just email me your thoughts. You can email connor@246news.com. You can also, preferably, put it in the chat. Sorry, 246news.com.au. You can head over to 246news.com.au. Connor@246news.com.au. You can email me there, or you can put your thoughts in the live chat. I'll read them at the end. I'll read all the live chat at the end. Let me know your thoughts, or put them on the comments down below if you're watching the replay. Now, you can understand why people would be mad at that. That's why Parliament was absolutely heated. Listen to this.
This is an egregious assault on the prerogatives of this place, It is outrageous, Mr. Speaker, that this government is seeking to ram through a piece of legislation of such magnitude in literally 2 days. Ram it through in 2 days. Why would you not let this be debated both in this place and in the public realm for 2 weeks like usual? What have you got to hide with regards to this legislation? Why do you not want the scrutiny of this House to be brought to bear on this extraordinary and extreme piece of legislation that will enable the Premier to rule by decree if he thinks there is a pandemic disease in Victoria or anywhere else, anywhere in the world? Now, Mr. Speaker, we have evidence that this bill has been in the offing since March. On the 5th of March, so for the Leader of the House to contend that it has to be rammed through in less than 2 days is a disgrace. The Minister's office emailed Mr. Medic on the 5th of March and said, I just want to lock in a placeholder, check your availability to discuss pandemic legislation. So if you've been discussing this with the three amigos in the other place since March, then why are you trying to ram it through in 2 days? This is nonsensical. It's an abuse of power, Mr. Speaker. It's a disgraceful abuse of power, and you, Mr. Speaker, as the chair of this body, should be very concerned by the way it's being treated by various individuals in the Australian Labor Party. Disgraceful mistreatment of our democratic traditions, giving dictatorial powers. And you're nodding your head. You think it's great. You think it's terrific, don't you? You think it's absolutely fantastic, giving the dictator the ability to rule by decree. Well, we on this side of the House don't think it's a very good idea.
I asked the member for Q to resume his seat.
Okay, resume your seat. There you go. That's the reality of it. Here, these are the new pandemic powers that could potentially be given. Now, thank you everyone for watching. This is 246 News. We're going to leave you there, but we're going to check the Premier chat, the live chat. Sorry, if anyone's left any questions, we'll answer them. And let's see. Hi Connor, good job, mate. Thank you, Claire Bear. I heard a recent report today that 8 out of 10 Queensland teachers have considered resigning due to the extended workloads, paperwork, and poorly behaved students. Well, I have not heard of this story myself. However, I do know that teachers do have a tough job, and they have a very big union here in Queensland for the teachers, and a union that isn't afraid to ask the teachers to go on strike. I don't know how many do, but they have a union here, like most places. I'll have to check into that story. 8 in 10, that is unbelievable. I want that story fact-checked, because can it really be 8 in 10? Okay, so this is from the Courier Mail. And then general working conditions for teachers. Wow, so this is from the Courier Mail. Yeah, I can't be absolutely sure about this, but yeah. So, okay, so I've seen that. That's from the Courier Mail. It may be a similar article on another site too. And then vaccines are crashing the immune systems. Starting to come out now. They have not worked yet. The government... Okay. So, thank you for that there. Now, this is an opinion that's interesting. Vaccines are crashing immune systems. Now, I haven't heard much about that, actually. I've mainly heard about the issues with the vaccines, obviously the AstraZeneca causing blood clots, Pfizer and Moderna causing the inflammation of the heart, and obviously no long-term testing of this vaccination. I will look into that myself. I haven't heard too much. Is this just the COVID vaccination, or is this all vaccinations? Because that I'm unsure about that. I hear, so the vaccine, what it's meant to do is it's meant to give a immune response and to make you, it's meant to respond so you are immune to COVID. And I don't doubt that it is working. I don't doubt that it is working in some way, shape or form, maybe not completely working. And whoever chooses to the vaccine, that is their choice. So I don't know whether vaccines are... Yeah, so no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines weaken immune system. This looks fairly fact-checked. Oh, fact-checked false. PolitiFact. All right. This is a long article, but, you know, it usually should help your immune system. Some people can't medically take the vaccination. You've all heard it before. And I have not taken the vaccination. I may take the vaccination, but as yet have no plans to take it. I still have, that's just my choice. And some of you don't like that I may take it in the future. Some of you don't like it that I haven't taken it yet. But this is just my choice, folks. Like, I haven't made a decision yet. So there you go. Thank you for watching Connor on the Air. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe with all notifications turned on so you never miss a Connor on the Air, a Paddy Report, or a breaking news show ever again. Or you don't miss a digital presentation, anything else. We have a lot more reports coming on media. We have a lot more reports coming from the ground. We have reports out on field. We're going to be doing shows in front of the camera for you guys. So please subscribe with all notifications on. Please like this video, share, and we want to get this out there as much as possible so we can, do bigger things, get bigger places. Thank you to everyone out there supporting 246 News. The best thing you can do is just hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate that so much. Thank you guys for watching here. Even better. Thank you for watching. This is Connor on the Air, 29th of October.